For my original contribution to my Capstone experience, I wanted to create a project that encompassed all the different skills I learned while taking my master's classes at ACE. What I chose to create was an extension piece for my statistics and probability unit. I called it Probability and Statistics Wiffle Ball. In terms of a project summary, I created this project as an extension piece to my Probability and Statistics unit. This is a group project where I chunk the information using Google Docs. Upon completion of this project, students should have a deeper understanding of theoretical and experimental probability as well as area models. I created this project so it could be completed online or in person. The logistics of this project are as follows. In terms of the when, this project will take place upon the conclusion of my probability and statistics unit. It can be completed in the classroom or in an online learning environment. I chose to create this project as an extension piece to my probability and statistics unit. This unit tends to be challenging for students, so I wanted to create a fun, enriching piece that used the essence of gamification to draw their interest and hopefully deepen their understanding. This project is connected to my ACE coursework because I used a variety of skills I learned throughout my ACE master's program. Before beginning the project, I looked at my learning environment and target audience. I then worked through the design plan template we received and began designing my unit of study. I looked at pre, in, and post course evaluation. I wanted to make sure I was evaluating myself and the students before, during, and after the project. I then broke up the different portions of the project into chunks in order to not overwhelm students. I knew I wanted to have a gamification element in it, so I had to make sure each section made sense in terms of gameplay, as well as ask questions when I wanted to check for understanding. Speaking of questions, I looked over Bloom's revised taxonomy when constructing my questions for the students, as well as the rubric. I also wanted to make sure I incorporated group work. Finally, I wanted to make sure the game could be played both online and at home. This way, no one would be excluded. This is the part that took the longest because I needed to find a way to make the scoreboard interactive. I was able to do that so the students are able to track their scores in Google Docs. In order to complete this assignment, students will need a device. At my school, they have Chromebooks, but any device will do. That's why I chose Google Docs. It works over any platform. For my students in person, I will print the scoreboard for them. I feel it will be quicker than trying to draw online. Although my target audience for this wiffle ball is my 7th grade math students, you could definitely still do this with 8th graders. My students come from a variety of cultural and ethnic backgrounds. Each class includes students on IEP and 504 plans. Also, there are between 20 to 25 students present in every one of my classes. Before I begin the PBL, I would explain to each student that this is an extension piece to their probability and statistics unit. I would discuss each key terms with them and explain that they would be continuing their work with area models and theoretical and experimental probability. In order to be successful in this game, they need to be able to use those three things. I then would break the students into groups of 2. While in those groups, they would create an area model for the rolling of 2 dice. I will state that in order to make an informed decision on who they want to draft, they need to understand the numbers and probability. Once they complete the area model, I will have them discuss what the best odds for winning were. Once that is complete, it's time to get into the game. Step 1 discusses the rules. It gives some background on wiffle ball, discusses how to play and keep score. Here's what step 1 looks like. So it gives some background, how to play, and how to keep score. Step 2 is the draft. Students should give one last look at their area model before they look over players. Each player has a specific theoretical batting average, as well as results for when a certain number is rolled. In order to construct the best team possible, they need to use their knowledge of theoretical and experimental probability. There are pros and cons to each player. Here's what step 2 looks like. So, here are the different players. As you can see, each person has a theoretical batting average. Also, if you're looking, you can see that if they roll different things occur. So they want to look over each one of the players to see which one makes the most sense for them. All right, so they have a huge variety of players they can choose from. They just have to use their knowledge of theoretical probability to decide who they want to draft. Step 3, the students need to set their batting lineup and justify their reason for placing their players in that given spot. They also need to make predictions as to how their players will perform. They will come back to this presentation in the reflection section. They then will answer specific questions about their players' theoretical probability. Once that is complete, it's time to play the game. While playing the game, the students need to keep statistics on their players. They need to know how many hits, home runs, and outs their player got throughout. The students need to play through the game three different times. Before each game, they can reset their lineup as they wish. Their goal is to look for patterns in their experimental probability. So step 3 explains a little bit about the draft. Then here's where they set their lineup. They give their reason for placing the person there, their predictions, and then they have to answer a few different questions. So I'll go slow so you can see it. But they're using their knowledge of theoretical probability to make informed decisions. Step 4 is the additional scoreboards that I just talked about, but here is what that looks like. So it gives them the different scoreboards, and it allows them to keep the score online if they wish. If you click on that, it pops up and lets you draw. Step 5 is completed once the students finish playing 4 games in total. I explained to the students that in the office of any coach or team owner, statistics drive many day-to-day decisions. Are players playing to expectations? Players keep careful tabs on their stats because they are often a deciding factor on their next big money contract. In other words, stats are everywhere. They then use the stats they collected to answer the questions and fill out the charts. So there is the explanation. It talks about your batting average, how to calculate it, because they're going to have to do that down here. So it has theoretical total hits, total at bats, actual batting average that they had to calculate, and actual batting average minus theoretical batting average to kind of see what happened. All right, and then they're answering some questions. Once they get to here, they're going to calculate the actual home runs per at bat and then kind of talk about it. The last couple are: who do you think was your most valuable player? Why? Was this the same player you predicted? So that was back from earlier. And then as a manager, is there anything you would do differently to improve your team's performance? So this is kind of them thinking through what they just did. Step 6 is the rubric for the PBL. Here's where the students can go to see exactly what they need to do / what is required of them. So if they click on that, they can see what they need to do in order to be exemplary, proficient, and developing. All right, so I will mark that down. And there is my capstone experience.